if anyone's listening to this and you haven't watched all the previous episodes,
I can't imagine for the life of me why this would be the episode of Too Much Energon that you start with. But
you know what? I take that back because I don't know anybody that's like, oh, Beast Wars was okay, but I really like Beast Machines.
Too much energon.
Is one of them a squid?
Cheetor, what have you done?
Blah, 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 blah. Beast Wars once and for all.
it's like throw her into the compactor. Well, you don't need this anymore.
Why do you always talk to yourself?
I simply have a penchant for intelligent conversation.
Yeah,
Say Calabar! No! Say Calabar! No!
No, not that.
Greetings, Cybertronians! Welcome back to Too Much Energon, the Lasercomb podcast where we talk about Beast Wars shit and talk shit about Beast Wars. I am one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I'm your other host, NeoCal.
What's going on this week, Cal?
Moving.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Hate it.
Yeah.
But what you gonna do?
Well, move, presumably.
You gotta.
It's what you gotta do. What you gonna do?
When
move.
When thine lords and ladies doth wish upon thee to move upon thy land, ye must obey.
Was that your Shakespeare in the Park right there?
That's my angsty millennial Shakespeare in the Park.
Right. Fop doodles, the lot of them.
I agree.
I am forever grateful that you have introduced that word into my vocabulary.
I don't even remember why I knew that. That's like the only ye old swear.
Ye
I
old
knew.
fop doodle.
Plus, it's just fun to say.
It is. Especially if you put like a really like exaggerated posh accent onto it.
Yeah. Such as OG Dino Clone.
Yeah. The memories. The memories of this podcast, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Been going at this a while now. This is episode 54 of Too Much Energon.
Mother of God.
Mother of God. Mother of God, indeed. I am happy to report to everyone out there that my allergy issues have finally been resolved. So no more nasally and sneezing and sniffling on mic and on camera. God, it was terrible. And then I swallowed the wrong way and cough. God, it was terrible last week. Like I was like constantly having to like, and not that this will mean anything to the audio listeners, but for the video version, I was constantly having to wipe my nose on camera, which just drove me insane.
I got dust allergies. Christopher Siege has like cat dander allergies. It's we have now become addicted to Reactin.
Yes. So what I ended up finding out from my partner, because for quite a while I thought it was my allergy woes were due to the wildfires going on in British Columbia.
Right.
But I started realizing that it was only when I was at home for more than a couple of hours, and my partner ended up mentioning that that she had been like literally taking a comb to the area rug that we have in our living room to pull out cat hair, to pull cat hair out of it. And she's like, oh, so it's probably just like thrown cat dander all over the house, which cat hair is fine. Cat dander though, like, whew, oh my God. So both of us figure that that's probably why I was dealing with such insane allergies for the past couple of weeks. But under my most gracious co-host recommendation, I took up taking Reactin, and it works swimmingly.
This episode of Too Much Energon brought to you by Reactin.
Except I didn't buy Reactin. No, I bought Life Brand.
No!
Because it was $3 cheaper for twice the amount. Yes. Yes.
That's the off-brand version of the same thing.
Yes. For our listeners, Life Brand is the like generic brand of like drug and vitamin knockoffs for a chain of stores up here called Shoppers Drug Mart. Oh, I was gonna say it's basically our version of like Walgreens or Rite Aid or
yeah.
Rite Aid probably.
I saw the other brands, but the Reactin was on sale, so I was like, take that.
I am sometimes skeptical of off brands of things, but
right.
But
they don't have flashy packaging.
They don't have.
How do you know to trust them?
And they're way cheaper for twice the amount.
Suspicious.
But I quite literally picked up a box of Reactin and a box of Life Brand, whatever, and compared the medicinal ingredients, which is just one thing. It's like 10 milligrams of something. And then I compared all of the non-medicinal ingredients, and it was literally the same. It was literally the same on both of them. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, it's the same thing.
Yeah, has to be, right?
Yeah. And it works. Yes.
What?
Is such a thing even possible? Yes, it is. My allergies are gone.
Oh, I've been moving so much that it helps, but it doesn't completely eliminate it. I feel like I am the dust. Somehow, I'm the dustiest person on the planet. Like everything I have is like caked in dust, and I'm like, why? I've been to other people's houses. They don't have like 5 millimeters of dust covering every single object in their living room, but
oh
here I am.
My house is definitely like that, good sir.
Okay.
I have this I don't know, it's like a swiver like duster thing, and I run it across the surfaces of like all the electronics and tables and whatnot in my living room, because like the dust is insane, man. It makes me sneeze, and I don't like
I need
it.
to start. It does a lot. Which sucks because I'm moving, but soon it will be over.
Soon. Yeah, the big moves happening soon, eh?
That's true.
Yeah.
I have somebody coming in and helping me with a moving van. Well, I'm renting the moving van, but
sure.
Someone.
You mean they're not bringing their own moving van that they just happen to own?
I know, right? How dare.
What kind of friend are they?
Since we're doing a little preamble here, we'll send you a little something for later. I probably should have just messaged you that outside of Zoom, but
absolutely you should have.
My brain doesn't. I'll find a way to send it to you. It has to do with moving and needing 2 strong boys.
You can send it to me in Discord.
There we go. So how about you? How's the week?
It's been fine, I guess. I don't know. The mask mandate has come back in British Columbia.
Back, baby.
It's back, baby. I knew it was going to come back too.
Yeah.
And and I knew it was going to come back because basically throughout the pandemic, what I've kind of noticed is that BC basically follows California, like what California does, but just like 2 months later.
Yeah.
And I know this because like I listen to a ton of podcasts that are hosted by people based in California. So like during the entire pandemic, I've been hearing like what's going on like at ground level in California during COVID. And yeah, like I said, what I've noticed is that BC follows California's example, but it just takes a couple months.
Couple months behind. Yeah.
Yeah, we're a
The
couple.
wildfires start a couple months later.
Yeah,
The-
just in general.
Yeah.
Random elections happen a couple months later. You know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anyone listening? Maybe I was gonna say anyone listening and doesn't know about Canada, but that probably means they don't give a shit.
Most of our listeners are American.
They under certain circumstances that are a lot easier than in the US, an election can be called prematurely.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid.
And it happens somewhat more than you would think. Like happens every once in a while. I want to say every 5 years or so. Maybe less.
Yeah. I think this will be like the third or fourth time that it's happened in my adult life.
Yeah, it pops up every now and then. The problem with it is it's always like abused by the majority or minority
In this
like
case,
government. Yeah.
So basically, like what's going on right now is like the Liberal Party of Canada, they're in power, but they have a minority government in Parliament, and they want a majority government. So
God damn it.
so basically premier or prime minister, not premier,
There we go.
prime minister Justin Trudeau,
The big P.
the big J, prime minister Justin Credible himself. His like public approval rating has been fairly high during the pandemic, and like even like I was never particularly fond of the guy. I always thought he would be a fairly ineffectual prime minister, and lo and behold, he for the most part has been. But during the pandemic, like even I'll admit, like he's done an all right job. And so his approval rating's fairly high right now. So him and his party have decided to ask the Governor General of Canada to dissolve Parliament completely, which is a thing you can do when you're the Prime Minister. And the Governor General of Canada did that. So federal Parliament is no more, which triggers an election. And the reason why Prime Minister Justin Credible and his Liberals did this is because they want a majority government. And they
Politically speaking, it's smart.
And they figure because their approval rating is so high right now, this is a good time to kind of roll the dice, as it were.
My partner pointed something out to me that I wasn't aware of. During times of crisis, the approval rating for countries' leaders always goes up.
Yeah.
Or often, unless they're completely incompetent. But there's many people in power that cover many structures of a country to prevent any one person from ruining it.
Right.
Unless you live in the United States. Hey. Yeah, apparently the approval rating for leaders goes way up during like a pandemic or crisis. And yep, that's what's happening here.
Yep.
Now he'll be able to speak moistly on whoever he wants.
You wanna explain that one to the listeners?
Way back when all of this started, one of his addresses to the people, you know, why it's important to wear a mask, blah blah blah. And
yeah, for the first like 6 months or so during the pandemic, he was doing daily addresses to the nation on national TV, out front of
I
his
would
house.
watch them sometimes, and
Yeah.
he did a good job.
Yeah, he did.
And everybody makes fun of him for this. I thought it was endearing. Like, I thought it was funny. But he says, well, like, it's important to wear a mask, especially during the pandemic. And you don't want people, you don't want people speak, you don't want to speak moistly at others. And he immediately goes, moistly. I like
Yeah, he caught it himself right away.
yeah. Yeah, and kind of like laughed it off, and then it kept speaking.
And it became a meme in Canada for like a week. I'd forgotten about that completely.
The speak moistly.
Yeah.
Not even sure if that's a word.
I don't know.
I'm going to say I don't care.
Speaking of speaking moistly, this is episode 54 of Too Much Energon, and we are talking about the 4th episode of Beast Machines, and we're going to get into talking about that in just a second. But first, here's a word about the Patreon. Do you want to hear more Lasercomb content each and every week? Is one episode each of Too Much Energon or Alphanumeric simply not enough? Then boy do I have a solution for you. Go to patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB, where starting at a mere $5 per month, you get literal hours of bonus preamble audio each and every week, access to the Lasercomb Discord, monthly shoutouts, and more. At the $10 and up tier, you get our weekly weird news show Lasercomb Tonight, as well as our Too Much Energon spin-off Too Much Galavar, where we talk about the monthly IDW 2021 Beast Wars comic book. Yeah! At the $25 tier, you get all of that, plus our monthly Too Much Commentary track, a free t-shirt, and more. Support Lasercomb tonight, today. So this week on Too Much Energon, we are talking about the 4th episode of Beast Machines Mercenary Pursuits, originally aired on October 9th, 1999. Cal, how would you like to get us started on the episode?
Pretty hype. One thing I want to point out. So episode 1 or 2 of Beast Machines, at the end of the Beast Wars intro, there would always be like this big hype voice that yells Beast Wars.
Yeah.
Right. One of the jokes I had made, me too. One of the jokes I had made during the first couple episodes of Beast Machines is, oh man, there's no like hype man to yell Beast Machines. So how do I know what show I'm watching?
Right.
Episode 1 and 2 just have like the logo and like with the eagle claws and all that. But episode 3 onwards has a voice yelling Beast Machines. And I
really, I didn't even notice.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the first 2 don't. And then from then on, there's a hype man that yells Beast Machines after the intro. So I guess I have no criticisms of the show anymore.
So what's going on in the beginning of this episode then? After the Beast Machine, Beast Machine's hype man.
So Primal leads with loyalty and respect, and Megatron leads with threatening people's lives.
Well, in this show, he's during the Beast Wars, he did lead with loyalty and respect. But I feel like in this show, he's kind of starting to come unhinged, and people are kind of just following him out of...
Oh, that's necessity.
Yeah.
He's a little different. You're right. But they're both very different.
Yeah.
And it opens with Megatron being like, if you don't catch me those Maximals, I'll destroy you.
Yeah.
So you get to choose. Do you want to die? Or do you want to be rewarded with time on the Xbox?
Right.
The choice is yours.
Yeah, so he's talking. So yeah, he's talking to his Vehicon generals here. Thrust, Jet, Storm. I almost said Jetfire, and Tankor. And I do find it funny that in this episode that they keep like regularly referencing being rewarded by Megatron.
It's like they know that we were going to make memes about it.
It's just amusing to me because it's like it's something we've frequently made fun of on this podcast,
And they
and now they're
mention it a lot.
now they're just straight up like addressing it in dialogue themselves.
I don't know what the reward is. Well, they just get to drive around in peace, I guess.
It gets a little confusing later on in the episode, and I'll mention it when we get there. But so Jetstorm is like basically like, oh yeah, I would have caught the. Oh yeah, Megatron, I would have caught those stupid Maximals if it weren't for these two rotundos behind me getting in my way.
And he's like, oh, really? And he like tortures him with some electricity.
Yeah. And he's like, no excuses, damn it. No.
Now get out there.
That's not how
Or else.
That's not how we do things on planet Megatron. No.
And he slaps Tankor on the ass and he says, now go get him.
Tiger.
And Tiger. And something, I saw this coming a mile away. Immediately after they leave, all of the Vehicon generals like don't work together, and indeed kind of like spend a lot of the episode fighting each other.
Yeah. There's a
guys,
there's a very extended fight sequence between Jetstorm and Thrust
specifically, and Tankor just goes off and does his tank thing.
And actually, Tankor goes off and actually pursues the Maximals.
Yes, and we'll talk about how successful he is when we get there.
Yeah.
It may shock you.
What is this?
So they do that.
BuzzFeed?
They one simple trick to catch maximal scum.
Number 7 will shock you.
The primes hate him. So the Maximals split up again, except this time it's like Rat Trap and Cheetor together.
Yeah.
And they go to a spare parts warehouse, and Cheetor comes to the genius conclusion that if it was just a spare parts warehouse, they wouldn't have gigantic, huge, like hangar doors with gigantic clockwork locks on them.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, astute observation. And so Rat Trap sneaks in through a vent.
Yeah, that
opens it from the inside.
That Cheetor boy, he's come a long way since running off with like ENERGON relay posts or whatever. I don't know. I'm referencing the thing from the teleporter episode.
Yeah, where you run so fast you just like turn into electricity.
Yeah.
So Rat Trap opens the door and he's like, please, please, no applause. I embarrass easily. And I'm like, no, you don't. You have no shame. So they don't waste any time. It's quite obvious that apparently this warehouse is where Megatron designed the virus.
Yeah, the
that helped him take over Cybertron.
Yeah, the transformation lock virus.
Mm-hmm.
Which
and
I kind of wonder.
Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of wonder, like, I was reminded recently as I was combing through footage of old episodes of Beast Wars and this show for something I'm working on, of the transformation lock lens.
Yeah.
Made by Tarantulas in the Beast Wars season 1 episode, The Probe.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if this virus that that Megatron developed for planet Megatron could be based off of similar technology.
I'm sure the writers definitely thought about that.
I'm sure they did. And I'm sure it will definitely be revealed that there is some link between the two.
100%.
110%.
Wow, you're that sure. It's like you've watched this before. Or maybe he's a liar. Ladies and gentlemen.
The answer will shock you. Cheers.
They do get shocked a lot this episode.
They do.
So right away, Rat Trap reveals that there's an antivirus.
Yeah.
And he's got like a little canister. And I'm like, why would Megatron keep this warehouse? So the Maximals could find it in a later episode.
For further production of the transformation lock virus in case more Transformers show up.
Yeah.
Which indeed they did.
They did.
Yeah. Yeah, so Rat Trap finds this what is it? What does he call it? Does he call it the antivirus or the counter virus in this episode?
It's called a counter virus.
The counter virus. Yeah.
And man, they animated Cheetor's kitty cat face so nicely in Beast Machines.
Mm-hmm.
And Cheetor jumps up on the counter like a cat. And he's like, shouldn't we tell Daddy Gory-chan?
Gary Primal.
Daddy Primal about this. And Rat Trap is like, good idea. Why don't you go back alone and tell him? And I'll stay here and
because like
guard the base.
Well, because literally right before that, Rat Trap was basically salivating over it, being like, hoo-hoo, I can use this on myself. And no more rat mode for me.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Like holding it against his chest.
Yeah. And Cheetor's like, whoa there.
Whoa there. We need to ask Big Boss. And so Rat Trap BS's him and he's like, why don't you go back and tell him? And Cheetor's like, okay.
And Rat Trap,
he's not that dumb.
Rat Trap delivers it in such a like very obvious way. Like it's the kind of thing that you only ever see in kids shows, really, where a character is like, because like the child viewing it needs to be aware that like something fishy is going on.
Yeah.
So Rat Trap is just like, yeah, you're right. Say, why don't you go on ahead and tell him, and I'll hang back here.
Okay, but don't touch anything.
Yeah.
And he's like, I pinky promise. Rat's honor. And behind him, you know how like you're allowed to break a promise if you like cross your fingers behind your back when you make a promise? That's like a trope from like 90s cartoons. I don't know of any younger people.
I didn't actually know that, but
every once in a while in like a kid's movie or a TV show or something like that, someone will have like their fingers crossed behind their back and be like, oh, don't worry, I promise. And then the camera will pan to show them like they had their fingers crossed behind their back. There's a panning shot that shows Rat Trap's tail is crossed behind his back. So it's kind of like,
and his tail is also holding the counter virus thingy too.
Yeah. And just in case the audience wasn't sure that he was going to use it on himself. I just realized there's a little schematic of what he's going to look like on the computer.
Yeah.
We'll get to that when that pops up. So Cheetor finds the others pretty lickety split.
So they're like scurrying about. Gary Primal, Black Arachne, and Cheetor are like moving about in the dark, and they get spotted by Tankor. And Tankor is all like, Tankor, kill beast bots, get reward.
Yeah.
Get all the reward.
Get all that sticky gooey reward.
It's remember
It's only the first of many times they talk about a reward.
Yeah, especially Tankor. Remember how you were
Yeah.
saying, what was it, last week? Or yeah, it was last week. You were saying about how like Tankor needs to be like endearingly dumb. I feel
Yeah.
like he kind of gets to that point in this episode for me.
He wasn't before,
He
but
wasn't. Yeah.
he is in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like dumb characters for them not to be annoying. Quick strike. They need to be endearing.
Yeah.
Like Scorponok or Tankor.
Or Waspinator.
Or especially Waspinator.
Especially Waspinator. And Tankor is like endearingly dumb in a different way than Waspinator, but
Yes. So there's some yada yada as they're running away from Tankor. And they're like, we need to transform. And Primal's like, negative. There might be explosives in these containers.
yeah.
And Tankor Tokyo drifts around the corner screaming, "Roar!" And he shoots them. And there's this giant green reward. I've got such a raging reward coming my way. And he shoots the storage containers looking for the Maximals, and green explosion pops up. And Primal kind of like turns back to the others and he's like, see, told you so. And I'm like, but just because they transform doesn't mean they were going to shoot those. And also, if they're just fine after Tankor exploded the storage containers, then what danger was it to them if they accidentally shot them too?
Right.
Just little things like that.
It's worth pointing out that the reason why they're here is because Gary Primal was like, I sense the presence of a familiar spark.
Right.
It must be over there. And when they go over there, they find Tankor. So they're
I'm suspicious.
yeah, something is rotten in the state of Denmark, listeners.
Yeah, so Tankor loses them. And he's like, Beastbot's gone. No. And screams.
Must have reward.
Well, and indeed, he's got such a hard on for the reward. He just starts shooting everything in frustration.
Then
Oh God.
Rat Trap shows.
There's a whistle. Yep.
Yeah.
Then they all turn around and look who it is.
It's
just after, by the way, the Maximals were all like, we should engage with stealth. They can't detect us in our beast modes. And Rat Trap's like, woo, look at me. And he's like being super loud and bouncing up and down.
look what I can do. I can transform. I am transformed. And indeed, we finally get to see Rat Trap in robot form. And
Yep.
he's
Thanks. I hate it.
he
I don't fucking like it, man.
he's got
A boy face?
he's got a
Like a little boy's face?
he's got a boy face with like these weird like they almost look like pelvic bones sticking out of his like sides, and his tail kind of looks like a spine, and he doesn't have legs, he has wheels. I actually don't mind the design of his face, but like
The rest of his design is fucking awkward.
he's odd looking, I will say.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what would have been a good look for them in Beast Machines, but not on Beast Wars? Rat Trap's transmetal form. It had wheels, but they were on planet Energon, where there were like rivers and cliffs and forests.
Yeah.
You know what would be rad here? His fucking like rat rod form. It's transmetal form. Instead, I get this.
Knievel mode.
Yeah, this isn't, I don't know what this is, but I don't like it. It makes me wonder how atrocious looking the others would have been if they didn't if they gained a physical transformation instead of a spiritual transformation.
Right.
Oh God. Oh.
Well, brace.
Here we are, folks.
Brace yourself, because there is a new character that is going to be introduced to this show at some point in the near future.
Oh.
Who has a it's just a very unfortunate character indeed. Cheers.
Worse than Rat Trap's design, or worse for different reasons?
You know what?
Let's just find out.
I'll let you be the judge of that, good sir.
Oh God. Oh God, what's gonna happen? Well, they're like, Rat Trap, you have to change back. We're stealth moding it, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I am transformed. Finally. It's like, you cheated, you little shit.
He did cheat. He didn't
Very
actually.
Rat Trap thing to do.
It is a very Rat Trap thing to do. But he's so Tankor detects them and starts shooting at them, and they flee, and they're like, go back to beast mode, you fucking dumbass. And
dumbass Chuck E. Cheese looking motherfucker.
He's having problems maintaining one form, so he keeps like partially like transforming to beast mode and then partially back to robot mode, and
it's a little body horror
going
on here. Like one arm will turn into like his robot mode, and then suddenly one leg will turn into a wheel.
Yeah,
he kind of looks like a rat rod form for a moment, where his rat feet turn into giant wheels.
Yeah.
And then his robot head comes out when he's in beast mode. So he has both of his heads, his rat head here, and then his robot form head.
It's so bizarre.
And they both speak at the same time.
Yeah, that's
some body horror I wasn't expecting on my beast machines.
I don't like it. Just gonna put that out there right now. Don't like it.
That I'm gonna save that screenshot because it's the stuff of nightmares.
I would say I'll make that the show art for this episode, but I already picked out the show art before we even started recording.
Okay.
It's much less horrifying. Also involves two heads, though.
Two heads are better than one, but not on Rat Trap. No.
So Gary Primal, as they're fleeing, like Gary Primal finally decides that, you know what, we can't keep running. So he's like, I am transformed. And Black Arachne and Cheetor are like, fucking finally, bud.
Yeah.
And so they transform too. And
finally, let's go for a rip. But Rat Trap can't help them because he's still like being all fucking janky.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Jetstorm and
Thrust,
yeah. Jetstorm and Thrust still fighting. And I never understood the motivation for them fighting each other. Like, doesn't that lessen the odds of them capturing the Maximals or destroying them?
I don't get it either, because like later on in the episode, they decide to just work together. Randomly, seeming like off camera. And then they're like, okay.
It's like a mutual understanding. It's like when you're fighting somebody, but then somebody else bigger comes along. But instead of teaming up we'll get there. It's dumb.
Yeah. They instead of like teaming up collectively as a group, they team up and decide, hey, that Tankor guy, fuck him.
Yeah, like they just arrive at the same time and they're like, hey, those Maximals don't belong to us. And it's kind of like the schoolyard thing where like you end up fighting somebody and then you become friends, I guess. But why wouldn't they show up and just go, hey, let's work together to get these guys? Nope. And indeed, they are punished for their hubris. Oh, there's a scene at around the 10-minute mark. Oh, I just noticed the comic book blur lines when they're running. I like it.
So
fucking Cheetor.
There's a thing that happens with Thrust when he transforms into overdrive mode. We get a very like anime style like background, and it's not the first time we're gonna see it in this episode when
Yeah.
it is the first time, it's not the last time we're gonna see it
Yeah.
in this episode when characters transform, but it is the first time we've seen it in this show, and I really hope it doesn't become a thing.
If you go to the 10:06 mark, if you were wondering if this was inspired by Matrix before, I can definitively tell you.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
I knew that you knew that I was going to bring this up.
I didn't take note of, because I've watched this episode twice now. I didn't take note of it when I watched it the other day. I did definitely noticed it when I was watching it a few hours ago today.
Yeah.
I'm like, so Cheetor is like squaring up against Tankor, and then Black Arachnia like swings in to like from behind to battle him,
and her arms go up,
and she straight up does
sides.
a like Trinity from the first Matrix film where she like leaps into the air.
The camera,
freeze frame, camera freeze frames, like whips around her, and then she strikes, like
literally the exact shot that Trinity does at the beginning of the Matrix.
Yeah, so when I was watching this earlier, I'm like, okay, so that is the final confirmation that we needed, that the people who made this show watched
Like
the Matrix like 6 months earlier and were really fucking hyped on it.
And they were like, holy shit. And they came into work with sunglasses and trench coats every day.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Everyone listening to this in North America that watched this show was alive during the turn of the millennium is very aware that everything referenced the Matrix for like a solid 5 years, I'd say. Everything, Shrek, like everything had that slow motion jumping like kick shop, whether it was a parody or not.
Yeah,
it was impossible to like make a movie without seeing Matrix references. But it's not obnoxious. I dug it. It suits this show.
And it's a very quick shot too. Like
it is.
It's a blink and you'll miss it type thing.
Yeah. Look down at your phone for a second, you'll miss it. And Tankor, the fight's dragging on. Tankor, he pulls one out of the Maximal textbook, and he shoots. Instead of shooting a mountain and making rocks fall,
there are no rocks on planet Megatron.
Oh God. So I guess instead of the Maximal maneuver, this is the Vehicon maneuver, because Tankor shoots a building and a satellite dish like breaks off and falls and captures all of the Maximals. And I'm like, okay, the Maximals got away with that bullshit in Beast Wars, so I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, just before that, I really dig Gary Primal's like running, like flying drop kick that he tries to do to Tankor.
Yeah. And he just bounces off of him.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the effort.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. And so after the Maximals get like covered up by this fallen satellite dish, like
reward.
Reward, Tankor, get all of reward. And
kind of like a Pokemon that's named Reward.
So
and that's when Thrust and Jetstorm show up, and they're like, hey, not if we have anything to say about it, we're best friends now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess.
And we get some more anime background bullshit.
Okay, I'm watching for it. You mentioned this. I'm gonna look for it. Anime background bullshit. Here we go.
Yeah.
I like how it's almost like a Western. They're like squaring off, all three of them.
Yeah.
I only
So,
caught that this watch.
Like on Tubi.tv, 11:31.
28, 29. Okay, with the solid colors moving from right to left. Well, we've seen that with the Maximals, but them running at the screen with like the speed lines from the edges, right?
We've only seen it this episode, though.
Wasn't there that comic book effect in a previous episode?
Well, that's something different. There was a comic book effect in the previous episode with like the speed lines. This is something different with like the quick, fast moving like background, like colorful.
Okay,
background.
I see.
Yeah.
I see, yeah. So when they're coming at the screen, it's comic book, but when they're running from left to right, it's anime.
No, when they're coming at the screen, it's like black lines. This is like
motion blur.
This is like vertical or horizontal like colors like moving at super speed.
Sometimes you go so fast and the world just seems like a blur.
I don't know. This is like Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball bullshit. And
Dragon Ball has hand painted backgrounds. I'll have you know. I know what you mean by the Sailor Moon thing, though, like the computerized, like solid backgrounds meant to imply motion or just special effects.
Yeah,
it's a weird. So they're mixing it up. They've got some.
It was something that was big at the time, and I wasn't a fan of it at the time, and I'm still not a fan of it.
Hasn't grown on you?
No.
You wouldn't have liked Speed Racer, let me tell you.
No, I did not like Speed Racer. No.
75% of the episode was just the same footage of him doing this with inserted dialogue and his mouth moving, and the background just like that whipping by as like solid colors.
Yeah.
So who wins this fight? Not Tankor.
No, what I find funny is that so Gary Primal lifts the satellite dish up so the other Maximals can escape and crawl out as the Vehicon generals are senselessly fighting with one another. And then Gary Primal like gets himself out and just drops the dish, and like none of them notice. Like that would
they're busy fighting each other.
But that would
that
would make a pretty loud bang, something that heavy.
And indeed it does.
And indeed,
on the show.
It does on the show, but like none of the Vehicon generals even notice.
It's like when hyenas and tigers are fighting for like a downed zebra, and they're so busy fighting each other that the zebra gets up and runs away, and now nobody gets the zebra. That's literally what's happening here. They're fighting over glory, reward. I don't understand why all of them can't share the reward, but okay. And
so a big like battery or something, like
Tankor shoots like an explosive energy, a thing that explodes.
Yeah.
And the explosion is so big it knocks everyone, the Vehicon generals and the Maximals, like out, except Tankor. He big.
Yeah,
he big and strong.
He mighty.
Now the ironic part about this that I just realized is if they just stayed under that dish, that would have helped protect them from the explosion.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Something unexpected happens. Tankor wins, ties them all up, and brings them back to Megatron.
Yep. So we're back in Megatron's auditorium.
Man, Scorponok never got a win that good. Well, no, he had his side. He had his side with bees. No, he shot Cheetor a lot. Okay, no, Scorponok had some wins. Sorry, you were saying.
So, in Megatron's auditorium, like, all the Maximals are like in energy shackles, and Rat Trap's still having trouble like maintaining one form. He's still like kind of half transforming back and forth.
Yeah, true body horror.
Yeah. And Megatron is like, you're having trouble. You are the victim of some sort of transformation virus. Cheers. Well, not to worry, because you won't have to worry about that or much else for very long. No. He's way more menacing sounding in the show, but like I like to ham it up. I like to ham it up like the old Megatron, you know?
I was off air. I was saying to Christopher that I associate Christopher's version, his impression of Megatron, more with Megatron than the actual voice actor at this point. Kind of like how I didn't sound like Scorponok, but my version of Scorponok just kind of replaced how Scorponok actually spoke.
And same with our like Trucker Rhinox routine.
Trucker Rhinox is probably closer to the source than the other two are. Yeah, but what happens here? He's shit talking them before he tortures and kills them. He's Megatron.
Yeah,
he can't just off them.
Yeah, he's basically shit talking them. And so Tankor is like, "Me want reward now." And Megatron is like, "Yes, you shall have your reward. You shall be free of all of this."
Mm-hmm.
And Tankor is like, "Me want freedom now." And so the Maximals are like, does Tankor not realize that like this reward is to have his spark removed?
Yeah.
So,
like they are aware.
They are aware. So here's what I'm confused about. So the ultimatum that Megatron gave the Vehicon generals at the beginning of the episode was,
I never even realized.
So it was like, well, I will kill you if you don't bring me the Maximals. But if you do bring me the Maximals, you will be rewarded. But the reward is apparently just having your spark ripped out again. So it's like, what's the fucking incentive?
Why wouldn't I defect?
Exactly. And the show doesn't even seem to really address that at all.
Well, this Megatron is a lot more dangerous, evil than Planet Energon's Megatron. Definitely.
Megatron got a lot more evil as that evil and cruel as that show went on, but this is very much like fascist, like totalitarian.
This is dystopian cyberpunk fascist Cybertron.
Yeah.
Right? I'm surprised there aren't like giant like monitors all around Cybertron with his like face like barking orders and shouting like Megatron propaganda at nobody, since nothing has a spark, I guess. A good robot is a robot who lives for nothing but serving their master. Tenant 2115.
And then one Vehicon comes along and happens upon a special pair of sunglasses that let him see through everything. And he sees the posters for what they actually are. And the posters of Megatron's face actually say, "Suck my dick."
Suck my floppy dinosaur dick.
Suck my dick laser.
Optimus Prime. It's true, I tell you. I smacked him across the face. True, that's technically canon.
It is, yes. It's technically canon. Beast Wars Megatron wagged his dick laser right in and blew a huge load, like right all over Optimus Prime's face.
Almost killed him.
Almost.
Almost doesn't quite cut it though.
Yeah.
So where the fuck are we?
Gotta close your eyes when that load's about to come. You know.
Oh, he was sleeping, so that was when he started getting evil.
Oh,
When
so
he
that's even worse then. That's like,
yeah, it's no consent there, man.
yeah, shit.
That's when he started to turn to the, not just the cackling kind of like mustachioed villain, like putting a damsel on the train tracks. That's when he turned into what would become evil Megatron.
Yeah. Actually, I would say it was it was with Rampage.
When they what about when he blew up the signal tower?
Oh,
and
yeah.
The show ended with him like cackling as like the explosion. No, that's still Shakespearean. Yeah, that's just fun. You're right. When he tortured, that's when he became cruel dictator.
Yeah,
Megatron. I'm with you there. And geez, where the heck were we? Oh, apparently Rat Trap's constantly shifting body horror between beast mode and robot mode.
His Cronenberg shit.
His robot Cronenberg. Robotenberg. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Cronenbot.
There you go. So Rat Trap Cronenbot breaks free of the energy shackles because of how unstable he is, and for some reason the control panel for their shackles is right beside all the Maximals. Like he just walks like 2 feet.
Well, that's just Prime.
And indeed, Megatron's distracted and doesn't see this happening. And they actually
I just realized your shirt says Prime on it.
It might be mirrored, so
no, it isn't on my end actually.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm fond of this shirt. I think Christopher and I got this in like a loot crate like 8 years ago or something. Pretty hype shirt.
Yes.
Loot crate was always hit or miss. I'd either like love it or I'd go, there's nothing in here for me.
See,
why did I buy this?
What I would do with Loot Crate is I would only subscribe if I knew, like, if like the thing, because they would always give you like teasers like, oh, this month's crate is going to have like things from this franchise and this franchise and this franchise.
Yeah, like sci-fi stuff like Halo and Mass Effect.
So
and the theme is Ring or space.
So and it was always like items from like 6 different franchises, I think. So, and if I was very fond of at least 4 of them, then I'd be like, okay, well, sure, we'll do it this month. And then sometimes I would look up spoilers because like people would get crates early. So I would look up spoilers to see what was actually in it. And if it was shit that I was like, not really into it, I'd be like, okay,
I should have done that.
I'd be like, okay, cancel this month.
Or you can skip months whenever you want, right?
Yeah.
I should have done that. Oh, well. What you going to do?
So I've actually only ever gotten, I think, maybe like 5 or 6 loot crates in my life over the years.
Too many. Too many loot crates.
Too much loot crate.
It's true. I've got so much shit that I'm actually going to be selling or just donating or giving away.
Cheers.
Too many knickknacks of collecting dust. I actually had, I don't know how, I blame Loot Crate. I blame people giving them to me as gifts because they'd be like, oh, I saw that you had like some Matrix and Firefly Funko Pops. And somehow I ended up with like 20 of the motherfuckers. And we have a friend, Xtina, who just puts them against her wall, and she has like a whole wall of them, and she just loves them and she collects them.
That does not surprise me.
I even from the franchises I liked, I'm like, even the exclusive ones, I looked one up and it was like $45 on like eBay. She was missing the ones from Napoleon Dynamite, and I had them, and I gave them to her. I gave her like 25, or maybe not that many. I gave her like 2 huge like canvas bags like full of them, and I'm like, here you go.
Just before the pandemic hit, in early 2020, I went to Fan Expo Vancouver, and there was a shop, like a like one of the booths that was there was just a shop like selling shit. And really that's all cons are nowadays for the most part, is just like shops, just like a play, like just you walk around and buy shit. But there was one that was just all Funko Pops, and I shit you not, I saw one there that was priced at over $5,000.
Excuse me, I got some allergies coming my way, folks. So hope I'm not too sniffly. 500 or 5,000?
1,000. It was like $5,425. It was behind it was in a case. And it was like a fucking like baseball player.
Did they make like 10 of them?
I don't know. I just saw the price tag, and it was like, and yeah, it was like of a baseball player I'm not even familiar with, but it was like limited edition.
Sometimes things are priced exorbitantly high just to see if they can get a bite, I feel like. But who,
to an extent, but like not generally, not at things like cons, because like they know that people that are coming there are people who are aware of like the collector's market and the values of things.
are they? Because
Yeah.
the gist that I have about cons is that nobody has money. Like 80% of the people use their disposable income on their cosplay and the ticket to go to it.
I can't speak to like the actual value of like Funko Pops, but like comic book vendors and comic book pricing.
Collectors.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, is the collector's market. I'm somewhat familiar with comic book pricing, and at comic book vendors at cons like that, like the comic book pricings are pretty accurate.
Okay.
So I imagine it's probably the same for things like action figures and Funko Pops.
Oh, though, that much?
I don't know.
There must be like 100 of them. Or here's the thing though, sports people are insane, right?
Yeah.
Like sports people, it's like, oh, that's a signed jersey, blah blah blah, and it's in this frame with glass in front of it, so no dust and no one's touched it, and it's like 40 years old, and it's like one of Gretzky's rookie jerseys, $40,000, I guess. And it's just like, holy shit, Gretzky should have kept all of his old clothes.
He only wore it once, and he wore it once during practice just before he played that Stanley Cup game where the Oilers won.
$40,000.
$40,000. Yeah, sports people are the ultimate fucking nerds.
They are like people. The jocks.
Yeah.
Will like make fun of people play video games or make fun of people that like watch Twitch, but they're watching sports.
And
that's the same thing, man.
They watch sports and they'll go and play like fantasy football and shit like that.
And then they
which
make
is
fun of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, I was gonna say, which is like basically their version of playing D&D. Like,
yeah, super sports fans are just fucking Dungeons and Dragons collectors.
They're just nerds.
Yeah,
they're just nerds about about a different thing.
Yeah. I had my dad was friends with. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick. I back in my younger days, like I considered myself a metalhead, and I pissed off so many like other metalheads because I referred to them as metal nerds. And they're like, we're not fucking nerds. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me about this band. and they'll be like, oh yeah, they were formed in blah blah. They had this person as their basis until like 1998, and then this person took over for just as a session basis for this album, but then a different basis they had for touring, like during the tour for this album, but then they brought in this person from this other band to do bass for the next album, but they still weren't considered a permanent member. And
right.
I'm like,
so they know everyone's life story.
Yeah, and I'm like, yes, like you're a fucking metal nerd. Like you're just a nerd about metal.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a nerd about metal too. Like that's just, I'm just calling a spade a fucking spade here.
Yeah.
But
just call a sports fan a nerd. He'll be like, hey, I'll have you know my collectibles are way more important than your collectibles.
Exactly. And that's
of Magic the Gathering cards.
Exactly.
And then it's like, but Dad, my cards are worth $5,000.
Well,
it's nerds of a different color.
Well, we're gonna sell that shit because Daddy needs a new signed baseball.
Right? Oh god. So where were we? This was a wild tangent. Oh, the Maximals are free.
Yeah, the Maximals are free, and
they transform.
Yeah,
they Sailor Moon transform, and man, what a crazy show this is. Megatron just like floats towards them and summons lightning. I guess he can do that here.
Yeah. Optimus does this like vision quest type thing where he like contacts Tankor Spark directly.
Right.
There's actually a funny shot where you see like Tankor like sprawled out, like all of his limbs like outstretched, and he's kind of just spinning around in space.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna make that the show art for this episode, but I thought it was a little too busy.
It's a little busy. They're in space.
Yeah.
So I noticed
and Gary Primal's in the lotus pose, like floating around, like in space. Like
some transcendent shit.
Yeah, talking to Tankor Spark, and he's basically like, remember the Maximal you were, help us fight Megatron.
This planet, it's pretty rad. I've always loved the vision quests of Beast Wars.
Yeah.
So I really like the vision quests in Beast Machines, but I really love the cyberpunk dystopian hell as well. And for some reason, when he snaps out of it, Megatron's like, "Don't listening. They're trying to confound you." So Tankor kind of shakes his head and he goes, "Tankor, confuse!" And he attacks the Maximals anyway. And he shoots them, but when he shoots them, they transform back into their beast mode. He shoots each of them once. And I'm like, what? Hold on. Does Tankor have a special shot that forces them to transform back into their beast mode?
No, they go into beast mode when they're stressed out and lose focus.
When they can't control their focus. Yeah. Right. Well, he shoots Rat Trap and he transforms back to beast mode too. Whatever.
Well, yeah, I don't have an explanation for that one. But I imagine getting shot by like a giant, like
maybe it stabilized some circuits that were fucked up.
Getting shot by a hulking tank probably would discombobulate you.
That'll do
a little bit.
Oh, you know how I was talking about giant like floating like monitors with his face?
Yeah.
Hey. 1608. Giant monitors with his face floating around.
Oh yeah. Vid windows.
Sweet. That's all I wanted to complete my dystopian Cybertron. Tankor, open your mind. Open your mind.
And Megatron like force lightnings Tankor.
Oh yeah, he is. He's a Sith Lord. Why didn't I realize that till now? His face is all fucked up. He's got a scar. His eyes are red.
He's
the Emperor.
He brings like a tube. Yeah, 1999. Yeah. Star Wars Episode 1. The cracks are starting to show in this series in regards to it being very of its time and drawing influences very much of its time.
Very, very much. Rat Trap does something selfless here. I guess the lightning couldn't stop Tankor, so he had this cable come down from like the blackness of the ceiling and latch onto him
Yeah.
and electrocute him that way directly.
Yeah.
And it seems to be slowing Tankor down. But then Rat Trap comes and uses his teeth like a wire cutter, and he latches onto this cable and like spins and breaks it.
Yeah.
So good job, Rat Trap.
And so Tankor like tells them to run. Megatron gets pissed off and like goes back into dragon form.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So one thing I will say is I understand that the Maximals like getting stressed out and losing focus, that putting them back into beast mode kind of makes sense,
Right.
because that's what's been established. That's the rule that's been established with their new like reformatted forms from the Oracle. I don't get why that's a thing with Megatron, because this is literally just the same Megatron that we saw on at the end of season 3 on planet Energon.
Oh, you're right. This isn't like
He hasn't been reformatted.
this
or
isn't
anything.
Oracle reformatting. This is Transmetal
Transmetal
2. This is Transmetal 2 Megatron.
So I don't understand why him getting stressed out makes him like forcibly go to beast mode.
Unless he purposely gave himself the virus too, but a better one to suppress. Wait, no, because then that would keep him in dragon.
Yeah.
Wait, no, it's the Oracle that's the problem, not. Yeah, what? Wait. Like Christopher said earlier, he's exposing all the cracks of the show here, but in a different way. Yeah, why would stressing him out make him go into beast mode?
Yeah. He hasn't been reformatted into a technorganic body by the Oracle. Like he is just Transmetal 2 Dragon Megatron from season 3 of Beast Wars. He's clearly done some work to his body to like try and remove the beast.
Honey, you got some work done. You ain't fooling no one.
Yeah. But yeah,
he gets stressed and changes into Dargon.
It's a Dragatron. Cheers. It's a yeah, I don't know. It's a weird plot point.
And he seems to really hate his dragon form.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, you're a dragon.
Yeah.
Like, you can fly and shoot fire and sometimes only once shoot ice.
He did it twice.
Once against once against Optimus and once against the fucking the Vok.
Yeah.
Or dude, bird, cat,
Tiger cock.
tiger cock. Yeah, good catch, man. That's
Yeah. So
so they run.
yeah, so they run.
And they got Tankor with them.
Tankor-
They got a new buddy.
Yeah,
I'm liking it.
Yeah, Tankor goes with them, and Dragantron is like blowing fire around, and
I'm angry. Ah.
but then he calms down, and he
Look, I love that shot where he calms down and he just goes,
yeah, he just looks around, and I'm gonna try to find the line that he says here.
it appears that Optimus had the right idea. Bypass the body
Yeah.
and target the mind.
Yeah. And while still in dragon form, he's like, very calmly, it appears Optimus had the right idea.
For a second, I thought he was like looking around and he was like, it appears that Optimus had the right idea. My dragon form is fabulous. Like, that's what I thought he was talking about. Because he says it after he transformed, but no, it's
Yeah.
target the mind, not the body. I will never target the hearts of my followers. No,
No.
we only have sparks. And that's if you're lucky. So he goes to the computer, and as we know, he's connected to the matrix circuits. The matrix means something different in this show, right? He's connected to the computer network of planet Megatron.
Yeah.
So he just goes, computer, erase the last 20 nanocycles?
20 cycles.
20 whole cycles.
20 whole cycles. An entire Saturday afternoon.
Gone in the blink of an eye.
Computer, erase an entire Saturday afternoon's worth of memories from Unit Tankor. Yes.
Let's see how you like that, Primal. You disgusting, stinky monkey. And indeed, Tankor, as he's traveling with the others, and they're all like, oh, it's good to have you, Tankor. Let me tell you, that Megatron guy sucks. Tankor grabs his head, screams, he goes, no, Tankor!
Tankor head hurt.
And then he transforms into his tank form, and he goes, Tankor, smash!
Start shooting at them, and they're like, man, will this guy make up his mind? And
I liked that line.
And Gary Primal is like, well, not with Megatron in there tampering with it. But then
they should have ripped out his Wi-Fi dongle before
right
bringing him here.
So Gary Primal like tries to like lotus pose. He hides behind like not a rock. They hides behind the corner, like a corner of a wall.
Corridor corner.
Yeah. And tries to tries to lotus pose and is like, it's like, oh, I need to contact Tankor Spark again. And then something
I liked this scene.
Something that I find really amusing. You hear like a dial tone. And
like a boop,
yeah.
boop.
And we hear Megatron being like, I'm sorry. Tankor can't be reached right now. No.
Please leave a message after the beep. Beep.
And in Gary Primal's eye, we see like Megatron's face.
I thought, okay, now we're getting into true like cyberpunk shit, like hacking, and like for a second it almost seemed like it pained Primal, to try to like do the connection with Tankor.
Yeah.
Please leave a message after the fuck you. Fuck you. Just kidding. Tankor's my bitch now. Yes.
Once again.
Forever and always.
Once again. That dump truck ass is just too sweet to let go. Yes.
No. Absolute dump truck. I loved that. Would you like to leave a message, you dumb shit?
Yeah, I found that pretty funny. So they
fight Tankor.
They fight Tankor. Black Arachne restrains him. They get away. Jetstorm and Thrust like say some bullshit to one another.
Right, because Tankor, when he's immobilized, his gun had already started powering up. So he shoots himself, apparently with so much force, he propels himself off the ground and through the catacomb ceiling. I know we point out the Looney Tunes stuff, but that's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like I like the stupid Looney Tunes shit in the show most of the time. I draw the line at Super 8. But it's funny, not only does he, because they're underground in the catacombs or whatever, not only does he fly through the ground, he leaves an imprint, like a Tankor like Looney Tune hole in the ceiling, and they the Maximals look up at the Tankor shaped hole. And of course, and I saw this coming before it even showed Thrust and Jetstorm. Where does he land? They're like, oh, I can't wait to get my hands on that big bucket of bolts. And they look up and there's that sound and he crushes them. And I was like, perfect ending to this.
So then the Maximals are like Maximals are basically just lamenting about what happened, and
Yeah.
Gary Primal is like, "Oh, I sensed a familiar presence in him."
Yeah, because they're like, "Hey, well, how'd you know he was going to join us, bro?" Yeah,
Then
I
the episode
sensed
ends with like
familiar presence
with a shot of Optimus and Tankor's heads floating in space, which is the show art for this episode.
I was gonna say, if it's not them floating, if it's not Optimus Primal floating in space in the lotus pose, can it please be
Yeah.
their heads floating at the end of the episode?
Yeah. So that
What a fucking wild show.
uh
That's it.
yeah, so that was episode 4 of Beast Machines, Mercenary Pursuits. Here on Too Much Energon, we rate episodes of Beast Wars, Beast Machines, and other Beast era related shit on the Too Much Energon scale, which ranges from not enough Energon to a sufficient amount of Energon to too much Energon. It's basically bad, okay, good.
Yeah.
Cal, what are you going to rate Mercenary Pursuits on the Too Much Energon scale?
This is actually my favorite episode of Beast Machines so far.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I praise
the
because
fights.
so far, for the listeners, if you've been paying attention, so far we are 3 for 3 with Beast Machines. Too Much Energon ratings.
I
so
know.
far.
And it was the Sith Lord Megatron shooting lightning
Yeah.
at people. The cyberpunk, like, I'm sorry, like, Tankor can't be reached right now. Leave a message after fuck you. It's just so 90s sci-fi trope-ish.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with the Matrix and phones too, right? Like the way they escape the Matrix is through a phone. The way I appeal to Tankor is through the Matrix. They don't hard hack him, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a spirituality to this, but like if it was just sci-fi, they would like jump on him and like plug something into his neck or something, right? So it's so wacky. And I didn't mind the comic book lines and the anime like background going on. It has like holes that we've caught,
Yeah.
that we pointed out, but there's not a single episode of Beast Wars or Beast Machines that doesn't have some minor BS like that. So
I was just gonna say real quick before you give your rating, I am finding it increasingly comical just how much these people were really fucking hyped on the Matrix. As I mentioned on previous episodes, this was like 6, 7, 8 months after the Matrix came out, so it was enough time for them to draw influence from it.
And boy, oh boy, if you didn't think so before,
straight up,
this
like
is the
Black
episode for you.
Arachnia doing the Trinity like jump kick. Anyway, what's your rating?
It gets too much energon from me. A very high too much energon.
I'm also giving it a too much energon. I hated the anime shit, but I had
it was on screen for seconds. Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't become a regular thing in this show going forward, but Thrust and Jetstorm fighting was kind of dumb, but a
waste of airtime. Yeah.
it basically kept them out of Tankor and the Maximals' hair
because that was the main the main plot of the movie. Yeah. It was a little Three Stooge-ish.
Yeah. It's a low too much energon from me, but it's still a too much energon. Let's see how far we can keep this too much energon rating train going for Beast Machines.
Oh geez. We'll see. How many seasons of Beast Machines are there?
2. 26 episodes total.
I'm extremely curious to see how good or bad this can get.
We'll find out. So that has been episode 54 of Too Much Energon. Best way to support the show is if you, whatever you're listening to or watching this on, give it a like, give it a subscribe, give it a 5-star rating. Anything helps us out with discoverability. Also, if you like this show and you know other people who like Beast Wars, tell them about it. We appreciate the support. If you want to follow us on social media, you can follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/toomuchenergon or facebook.com/lasercomb, which is kind of the central hub of all of the various shows that I produce and we host. Twitter, the show's Twitter account is @toomuchenergon. I am @lasercomb, LAZORCOMB. Cal, you are @NeoCal with a K, yes?
Neo_Cal with a K.
Neo_.
I know why nobody uses underscores for Twitter, because when you're shouting it out, underscore is 3. It's basically like a space, but it's 3 syllables. Underscore. Neo_Cal is just 3 syllables. So with the underscore, it becomes 6. It's too much, man.
Too much.
Yeah. So I apparently made a mistake. Somebody else had NeoCal without the underscore. Can you even believe that? It's the same dude that has it on Xbox.
On every single social media platform for the past like 15 or so years.
Yeah.
It's just this one guy who's out to get
that son of a bitch.
Who's out to get you.
Yeah. Everything, man. Everything.
Patreon. Support the show on Patreon. Patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB, just as I spelled it before. Starting at $5 per month. That's Canadian, so much less in American dollary dues.
Cheaper than a cup of coffee from Starbucks.
Starting at $5, you get access to the Lasercomb Discord, and you also get literal hours every week of preamble audio where we shoot the shit on this and various other shows. It's also a fun way to find out about what's to come, because a lot of the time we kind of hash out what our plans are for future episodes of this and other Lasercomb podcasts on the preamble.
So if you want Lasercomb spoilers,
yeah,
check us out.
There's also a $10 tier and a $25 tier, but go check those out. Patreon.com/lasercomb. We will be back next week with episode 55 of Too Much Energon, where we will be talking about the 5th episode of Beast Machines, Forbidden Fruit.
I wonder what that episode is about.
I remember this one, so I'm curious to I'm interested in revisiting it and curious to hear your thoughts, good sir.
Uh-oh.
That about does it for this episode of Too Much Energon. We're gonna get out of here. I've been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
And as always, I'm NeoCal.
And until next week, reward.
Megatron will reward us with death.
Bye-bye.
Beast Wars!